The Apple Vision Pro can't be saved. I think it's probably pretty clear at this point that it's been a colossal failure, and maybe it did make them some money because they did sell a couple 100,000 when they first came out. But ever since then, I mean, there's been a couple trickles out with some updates, a few changes that have made it a little bit easier to use when you're in the interface. But ultimately, I think it's still going to prove that, well, as much as people will pay for Apple products, me included, because I'm a giant tech nerd and I'm an addict for technology. I bought it, but hopefully me buying it saved you some money. And honestly, I pretty much never use this thing. I've thought about selling it a few times just so I could recoup some of my money because the sucker costs $4,000. I mean, it's $3,500 MSRP, 256 gigabytes of storage. And I will say it's entertaining. And I watched a movie on it the other night just to force myself to use it. And sometimes I have to balance, like, whether it's this thing really sucks and it's just not that applicable, or maybe it's just not applicable and doesn't fit in with my lifestyle. And that could be kind of a crossroad for some discussion. But obviously, I think when this first came out, people realized, or at least people in the tech sphere realized, it's really a beta product. There's been quite a few changes with it on the software side, but really at the price that this thing came out with, it was just entirely too cost prohibitive for folks to go ahead and get one. And I think maybe this is at least kind of steered the conversation to put a price point where I think it'll be more affordable one day. And if we could get one about $2,000, I think that's probably better. Now, it's cool you can use it with your laptop. You still can't use it with the phone, which is really ridiculous to me. And I use my phone a lot, but here's the thing. Whenever you're using this, and yeah, I mean, one of the things with using it is typing. It's still terrible. It's cool if you use it in conjunction with, like, let's say a keyboard, you can go that route, but then it's like, all right, I'd rather just use a computer. And a lot of the same criticism for that I have I still maintain it. So with this product, the Vision Pro, it's designed to be its own standalone product, but it interfaces with like your MacBook and certain things like that, where you can pull up the desktop on here, you can see it, you can expand it, and you can have like a giant computer inside your computer. You can have your little tiles or panels set up when you walk and pin them different places. But I'm just not at the point in my life where I walk around my house wearing this thing. I feel ridiculous. It's a little heavy to wear for long term, and I think for walking around with. Most often when I find myself using it, it's laying in bed, looking up at the ceiling with this thing on, and it's something that I've had some fun with. Like, it's one of those novelty items. I really feel like a novelty. I don't think it's as big a flop as something like, let's say, the Red Hydrogen One phone, which I was just looking at earlier. I remember when that came out, and I knew it was a bad decision to buy it. And I knew it was probably a bad decision to buy this too, because whenever you get a new platform like this, you're really buying it just because you just have to have it, not because it's at its real world potential yet. And I still don't think we've realized the real world potential for this. It's cool. And I know some people swear by it and they say this is the greatest thing ever. And I will say that from a novelty perspective, it's very impressive. Like, the Apple Vision Pro is impressive. It's got a premium build quality. It's got an immersive experience. But the biggest upgrades we've had are like a modified little menu for you can drag down and you can change some of the settings, and like 2 or 3 of those immersive environments since it's come out. So it's neat that your background can basically be like the moon or the beach, or sitting next to a lake. And that's cool. And it gives you like this really nice effect. You're looking around at things. But yeah, it ain't worth $4,000. And I think ultimately that's what killed it. If this were $2,000, probably a lot more Apple enthusiasts would have gone out and bought it. But even at that point, I still don't think it would have accelerated the product's usefulness. I think it's more still niche, novelty, kind of have to force yourself to use it for certain things. And I think that's one of the ways they designed it. They want this to be like the future, and it ain't the future. The future ain't here yet. It needs to be smaller, more lightweight, have some better way of using the battery. And it does have the attachable battery that you have that connects with the cable, which lasts for a couple of hours. But overall, I think this is a big L for Apple. And I talked about this before, and I kind of wanted to address it. We've had some software updates and different things like that since then. And every time they come out, I download them, I set it up. I'm like, all right, fundamentally, this is still the same experience. It's still kind of one of those things where people who love AR, VR, it's kind of cool. But quite honestly, for anybody who's interested in entering this space, Go buy Meta Quest 3S or Quest 3. Those you can get, and you can get a lot of the same entertainment value in many ways for like an eighth of the cost. Like the cost of entry is so low, and that's one thing that Meta is doing really good with their product is they're getting it out in people's hands. I've had people ask me about it, like their 10-year-olds interested in it. They want to play Gorilla Tag. They want to use it for other things. It's cool for playing those games. My kids like to play. They play all the online poker and stuff on it. It can be fun, and at times this can be fun. I mean, it's still to me uncomfortable, heavy. Really feels heavy on your face, and I feel like an astronaut strap on here or whatever. But hopefully there will be some lessons learned in this, and Apple doesn't double down on stupid and make another $4,000 headset. And maybe they'll come out with an SE model at some point in time. There was rumor, or at least it was kind of charted, there was going to be an SE model. And after this one kind of fell flat, I believe that got canceled. And I spoke about that before. But at some point, I'm sure we will see an Apple Vision Pro 2 because Apple can't help themselves. I think they're going to keep trying to push this. And maybe at some point it'll catch on, right? It takes time for these things to change in the industry. And if you're going to try and move to the next big thing, it takes time. And I will say, and I will give credit to Apple for doing it, being like the first $1 trillion company. They have the resources to do that. Like somebody's got to pay for this and put it out there and get the ball rolling. And we see like even Samsung is supposed to come out with their own AR, VR. So I think theirs is supposed to be glasses of some sort. But still, it's got to be something that mainstream consumers have to get on. Like the BlackBerry, when it came out, was novel because it had the QWERTY keyboard, it had the connectivity, you could do email on it. It added an extension to your life that gave you things that you could only do at a computer in the palm of your hand wherever you went. Keep you in contact, allow you to do business, allow you to do work, and it just kind of grew from there. And then from that usefulness, we got to the modern smartphone with the iPhone, and it took things to the next level, giving you apps, giving you integration, giving you an ecosystem. And I just don't feel like this adds something that we're missing and then take it to the next level where everybody just has to have it. Once they find the right price point and we find the it factor, we find the thing that people just have to have it for. And that was the thing with the BlackBerry. Like people just had to have it. And the exclusivity originally, where it was only for business, you couldn't get one for personal. And then once you could get it for personal, that opened up the floodgates and people fell in love with them. And then the same thing with the iPhone. Once it got out there and it started doing good and they started making things better, it took off like a rocket and it kind of inspired and transformed the phone industry. Well, we're kind of, I think, at a plateau. We've been at one for a while with phones. Like people, they're just not so in love with them anymore. They've gotten so much to the point of advancement where we've kind of peaked and stalled out, where it's like, oh, we changed the camera lens, or oh, we changed the camera bumps on the back. We went from square to round. The phone industry, the computer industry, these things are commodities in our life that we have to use that have kind of reached peak performance, and they just kind of keep tweaking and fine-tuning things and putting out another model every year. So I get that these companies are trying to create the next big thing, and nobody's really been able to invest in the AR or the AR headset, VR headset space to the point to where they've made it good enough and affordable enough and integrated enough to where it's very usable. I mean, when it comes to the biggest thing that frustrates me is trying to type on this thing. And it's like, all right, let me use my eyes, track it, we tap, 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 or, it's just not that usable. It doesn't do good enough to replace a computer. It doesn't integrate with your phone. It obviously isn't a replacement for a phone. Like I'm not putting this on and getting in my Tesla and driving down the street. You still have to use your phone so much, and it's not even doesn't even pop up where you can see it. It's basically really difficult to use your phone with this. But let's say you get a phone call. Of course, you can answer it. You can use Siri. You can use voice to text. But I'm not just going to sit there and talk out loud to send all my text messages, right? I need to type. So if I can't use my phone, and I'm not going to be tethered in front of my computer, because if I'm in front of my computer, I'm just going to use a computer. So I think they really need to do something more creative, more integrative, and find the way to make this to be a staple. And it just isn't at that point yet. And I think that this is probably the most expensive technology blunder in the last decade. And the only reason that nobody really talks about it is because it's Apple. And of course, Apple can do no wrong. And the Apple fans, of course, will support them and be like, no, it's amazing. It's innovative. It's the best thing ever. Okay, cool. I mean, I kind of felt like the BlackBerry Playbook was a great tablet when it came out, but I mean, it really wasn't. So people can be misguided in their feelings. Now, again, it's cool. It's a marvel of technology. It's entertaining. It's a great way to watch videos. It's a great way to have this immersive experience you can wear, and it's top of notch. I mean, it is something that can be awesome. You use it, and there's some stuff that's like, wow, this is amazing. And you're like, all right, what else am I going to do? It reminds me of my BlackBerry Z10 when it first came out. BlackBerry 10, it was really cool. And then 10 minutes later, we're like, there's no apps, there's nothing to do. All right, I'll wait for someone to send me a text message, or I'll use my browser version of Facebook. Like, we're waiting for this to take off. And maybe 2 or 3 years from now, it'll be a completely different experience and way better than it is now. But where it is right now, at the price point and where we're at now in the lifespan of this, I still feel like it's very much a beta product that we got sold, and some of us fell for it, some of us are happy with it, and some of us see it for what it is, a flop. So that's all I've got. If you have any questions, comments, gripes, concerns, complaints, your own opinions, go to the comment section. We can hash this out and talk about it. If you enjoyed the video, if you like this stuff, if you found this helpful, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.